biased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Yes, here we are again, another day committed to being your consumer advocate, helping you understand your buying decisions and making you more street smart here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Save our hotline number. At some point, you may need it, 813-750-0550. You can call or text that line anytime. It's an off-air number, 813-750-0550, and consumerqb.com. You can see links there to all of our expert contributors at consumerqb.com. You can also hear previous shows, over 1,000 videos now on our YouTube channel, 100,000 views on the channel. Brandon Rhymes Real Estate is the YouTube channel. And we would love to connect with you on social at Brandon Rhymes1 on Instagram and Twitter, Brandon Rhymes PA on Facebook. And we want to help you win in your real estate deals. If you're buying, selling, or investing, we would love to talk to you. And you can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. A couple of hot listings here before we jump into this great content for the show today. We've got some properties here in Tampa Bay, 5402 U.S. Highway 92. This is a bar in Plant City. It's a commercial property. And if you ever wanted to be an entrepreneur and say, hey, I can run one of those, 5402 U.S. Highway 92 in Plant City. The Finish Line is the name of it. 1,900 plus square feet. You got a 4 COP beverage license as well. Centrally located, fixtures and furniture included. 5103 Rose Place in Pinellas Park. This is a single-family property, a very affordable home. Would make a great rental property as well. $99,000, I believe, is the list price. We might have reduced it actually lower than that, but 5103 Rose Place, Pinellas Park, and you can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. And this segment is brought to you by Veteran Gutters, our friends at Veteran Gutters, USA-made products, American-made products, and Brandon Porter and his team do a great job. First-class service, first-class organization. Veteran Gutters, if you've ever considered putting gutters on your home, why not let the partners of the Consumer Quarterback Show, Veteran Gutters, work on your home. All right, Brandon Faust in the house as well. Welcome back, Mold Zero.
All right, yeah, good to be here. A lot of Brandons on the show right now, right?
That's right. We got 3 right there. And I'm trying to remember, you're a veteran as well?
I'm not a veteran, but I have great respect for the veterans in our military, service.
Yeah, man.
I can't say enough about them.
Seems like we got a couple things popping up in the Middle East again.
I mean, that's, I guess,
already.
I'm not going to say much about that.
I know,
now.
right?
Yeah.
It's back. We're seeing it. So cool, man. So veteran Gutters, Brandon Faust, or Mold Zero here in the house, moldzero.com.
Yeah.
And when you look at some of the underlying issues, as a matter of fact, our feel good story of the day, as we always do, is kind of a spinoff of that. It's a Good Samaritan saved struggling single mom's home with life-changing repair. So it was, again, this story is about mold issues that were in a home. So a lot of times it happens. People don't even know it's there. There's
no doubt that there is a situation in a lot of homes, and not just in Tampa, but throughout the U.S. And I think there's a lot of physical issues that go undiagnosed because it's not something that you always see.
Right.
A lot of times it can be, behind walls, in the ducts, and you're talking about something that's microscopic. You're talking about something that, you can fit 10 mold spores on the tip of a hair. So if you're seeing it colonized, right, it's usually way past the point you want to be. So I actually brought some stuff into the office just to kind of give you a little bit of a show and tell. And I know the guys that are on radio, they may not be able to see it, right? But I'll try to describe what it is. But we need these types of instruments.
Live stream out there too. We're live streaming down to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, about 3 other places, plus our Apple, Amazon, Roku TV. So a lot of people are seeing it that way. So do you want to hold them up for the camera there?
Sure. Yeah. So here's one thing. I think this is the first thing that we can start with. This is actually a cassette that plugs into a pump, a suction pump, right? And it's going to pull the air through, right? It's being sucked through. And then you end up having the actual mold spores that go onto this little piece of paper.
Wow.
And then we basically button this back up, and that's actually what we send off to the lab that looks at everything under a microscope. Okay?
Interesting.
So this little cassette, you could actually have anything from 5 spores to 1,000 spores that might get on this little piece of paper.
Wow.
In this cassette. And you're not necessarily going to see it with the naked eye. That's one of the things that's always astonishing to me.
Right.
Is it, We look at it after we've done it, and you're not seeing anything. But then you put it under the microscope, and they actually can tell, the quantity of spores that are airborne and the type of mold that is actually in your home or your condo or whatever might be sampled. The thing that is important to know about these air cassettes is that they really are capturing what's happening at that moment in time. So it's a snapshot of your air quality. So you might have a mold issue and this comes back somewhat clean because it's not floating around or it's not germinating at that point, right? But you can always smell it. After a good rain, you can almost smell the mold because it's actually, there's a little bit of a bloom that occurs. Just like, you go into an area that tends to be dry and they get some rain and then those, it's green, much greener afterwards because now it's actually growing, right? So same type of thing with mold. Once it gets wet or there's a high humidity, it might go into a mold bloom and you might catch more than you would if that wasn't happening.
Now, is it seasonal as well? Do you find certain seasons when it comes to mold and mold blooms?
Of course, when it's more humid, you're going to find more of that type of thing happening.
Right.
For example, when guys go out of town during the summer, the snowbirds, they really run into issues where they leave their AC on at 82, 83, and their relative humidity goes past 60%, for sure. And during the rest of the year, it may not be that type of a situation. 3 months out of the year, we might have really low, humidity outside. But with that said, you'll notice that during the wintertime, the actual humid air in the home, it's kind of been building up moisture, humidity over the year, right? Once it starts drying out, that humidity actually tries to go outside. So you wind up with condensation on the inside of the windows and on the inside of the window seals, right?
So air exchange too.
Yeah, 100%.
So when you have that air exchange, you're going to find that. We're talking with Brandon Faust, moldzero.com here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And when you look at the Consumer Advocate show that we have here, Consumer Advocate, we like to talk about misnomers. What are some of the other misnomers that you kind of battle with on a day-to-day, Brandon?
Well, in terms of when you say misnomer, something that they may call it one thing, but then it's actually not that.
Sure.
Okay, well, we can talk about mildew is a good misnomer, right?
Okay.
Because I think that mildew is a good euphemism for mold, right? People don't like the M word. It's one of the worst four-letter words in the English dictionary, right?
Yeah.
People don't want to use it, especially property management or anything else. And truthfully,
real estate related.
Yeah, they just don't want to talk about it. It's just it means big money, whatever it means, right? So, and that actually brings me to my next point, because really, even as a mold guy, I'm not supposed to go into a home and say, hey, that's mold, without actually taking a sample and then sending it off to a lab. Really, nobody should be doing that, right? Because you don't know, right, until you actually put it through the sampling.
Right.
So this right here is actually another one of the tools that we use to determine whether or not you actually have mold. And this right here, it's almost like the COVID swabs, right? You kind of probably really similar. You put it into this and you send this off to the lab, but you actually use this as a direct sample and you touch it to the surface of whatever you might think might be mold. Okay, and then so it's a big Q-tip, and you put it in this plastic bin, you label it properly, you send it off to the lab, and then they tell you what it is. And I actually ran across a mold that I had never seen before the other day. So, just out of curiosity, because I see all these different molds and colors, and one that was more orange and almost looked like mac and cheese sort of dust, and it turned out to actually be kind of like a bread mold, but then you look at what it actually does physically to people, and it can have a lot of connections to like pneumonia, respiratory issues, all kinds of stuff. So, you want to be careful with it.
Yeah.
So this is
when
these
you
are
pulled that thing out, it took me back to when I got my COVID test and they stuck that thing up your nose.
Yeah, it looks really similar. Probably same.
Like, you had one done where they get it up the nose?
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's painful.
Painful, right?
Yeah.
So, you have the air cassette for testing the air, and this is more for direct sampling, right, the Q-tip. Now, over here, I was talking about humidity, right? Now, this particular device, this is a FLIR device, and it has a thermal imaging camera, but also this particular thing, the tip, can actually detect the humidity. So right now in the office, we're at 49.3%, on the relative humidity.
In the studio here.
In the studio. Okay, so you're at a good spot.
So say it again, 49?
49.3%. it's calibrating, so we're at 48%. You want to be between 40% and 60% on the RH. And I would say keep it closer to 55 because all these things have a little bit of a margin for error, right? And you don't want to be at 60% or higher for any extended period of time. Mold can start growing at 60%.
Interesting.
So we have these different devices to kind of tell us what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And then this also has a pin meter, which I try not to use that often because it does look almost like snake bites, right? You plug it into the wall, and it will tell me what the actual moisture content is of that particular surface. So I put it into the drywall, and if it's at 17% or higher, right, you basically are going to wind up with, I'm kind of putting it into my fingers right now.
Wow.
And the moisture content of my fingers is 23.9%, you know?
Wow, okay.
So if it's over 17% on the drywall and it's got anything that looks like growth, we normally remove that. If it's over 20% on the drywall, we definitely remove it.
Wow.
So we have exact numbers that we're going to go off of.
Over time, it's going to absorb into the drywall, especially if you see like a water intrusion event where water's come into the bottom, you know, the bottom, that's a lot of times you'll see where investors have gone in and cut out the bottom 3 feet or 4 feet and replaced that drywall down.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So they've gone in and replaced that bad drywall that was affected. So wow, that's interesting. So you've got the tools to be able to test it. And then once you do, at that point, once you ascertain that there's a problem, you've got the turnkey solution to be able to fix and remedy that.
That's exactly right. So we really specialize more in the remedy at Mold Zero, but I also have the tools to find what actually might be causing it as well. Because I'm going to push out a lot of the inspecting to an independent inspector to come to his own conclusions about it, and then he tells me what we need to do to fix it, right? So I can do both. I can do the inspection and the remediation, but we really try to stay in the remediation lane for Mold Zero. But I always have the tools so I can kind of see what's going on as well, right? So this right here, you can see this is actually a thermal image camera, and you can holding it up to the camera right there.
That's cool.
And you can see the actual thermal image sort of. You can see my face
John,
actually.
If you could switch on that. Yep, there he goes. That's pretty cool, man.
Right. So, and you could have it where there's like a surface, for example. So you can't really see it, but if you could, you could actually see the surface of my hand, and it leaves a print of my handprint because it's basically looking at temperature.
Wow.
So we use this to find the source of the actual water intrusion because the water is going to run cooler than the actual material itself, right?
That's pretty cool.
So this is a FLIR thermal imaging camera that we use to.
But when we come back, we're going to take a quick break here. But when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about some of the EPA and what they say about indoor air quality and compared to outside air, and then some of also the remedies as well and the systems that you can put onto some of the home systems, the HVAC systems. Put it right there on the air handler. Talk about that more from Brandon Faust here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Moldzero.com, consumerqb.com for more information about the show. Plus, our feel good story of the day coming up. Pretty cool story about a good Samaritan that saved struggling single mother's home with life-changing repairs. Stay with us. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. For more information, go to consumerqb.com.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.
My friends, when choosing a listing agent to sell your home, their track record is critically important. Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of Platinum MVP Team at Keller Williams Real Estate. They're consistently rated by the MLS in the top 1% of all Tampa Bay realtors, and that's a big deal. Brandon and Lindsay are always among the top realtors in the state. Call them today at 813-750-0550.
Find them at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Selling commercial or residential property? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. Reach me at 813-670-7372 or platinummvpteam.com.
My name is James DeJerome, and I produce the Consumer Quarterback Show for Brandon Rhymes. The Consumer Quarterback Show is a team, a group of like-minded professionals who partner together to provide our audience sound advice, knowledge, and information to make them wiser consumers. We work with all types of business owners and aggressively promote our local economy. We're currently conducting interviews for our expert contributors. If you own a business or know someone who would benefit from the exposure our show provides, please contact us at 813-750-0550 or online at consumerqb.com.
You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show. Now, it seems like everybody's worried about their immune system today, and if you want to feel energized, hydrated, and replenished, reach out to our friends Steve and Lisa Gunnan over at Replenish IV Solutions. They've got multiple Bay Area locations, or they will come to you as well. We're talking about getting a vitamin infusion drip directly into your bloodstream. I love it. At least once a month I go and I visit them at their Gandy location in South Tampa, and they hook me up to this vitamin infusion drip, put all the good stuff in my body directly into my bloodstream, and it's going to boost your immunity, boost your hydration, and make you feel a lot better. Replenish IV Solutions, longtime friends of the Consumer Quarterback Show. All right, we got some hot properties here in Tampa Bay. We've got a property on Hamlin Road at 12500 Hamlin Road. This is acreage available, 41 acres. So any builders, developers, entrepreneurs, investors looking to buy land. By the way, what's the best hedge against inflation right now? Buying land, buying real estate. 41 acres. This is zoned agricultural. It's going to keep your taxes low, but you also have your future land use of RS3. So definitely looking for some residential development in that area. Spring Hill, Pasco County, growing leaps and bounds. 12500 Hamlin Road is one of our hot listings up in Pasco County. Great buying opportunity. Listed in the $900,000 range as well. We also have a property in Innisbrook. This is 36750 US 19. It's Palm Harbor. Innisbrook Golf Community, Golf Club, community, restaurants. Got a 2-bedroom, 2-bath property available right inside the golf community of Innisbrook. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Sun is shining, the weather is sweet.
All right, we got Brandon Faust in the house, moldzero.com, and we're kind of teasing a little bit about, the EPA. I love to throw stats out there because the EPA shows, I think, indoor air quality versus outside air is about 5 times or 7 times, something like that, more polluted than outside air, just fresh air. You hear about that. You've heard some stats on that as well?
Well, absolutely. There was a study that was done, it was quite a while ago, it was 1984, but at that time, I think it was 30% of the buildings in the U.S. had what was called sick building syndrome. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
So it's only increased in regards to, obviously, as time goes on, there's buildup. And, mold is not one of those things that necessarily goes away, right? Because it lies dormant and it just continues to grow as the years go by, just like any sort of, life, vegetation or whatnot. It's actually a fungus, and it is in the fungus kingdom. You have like the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, etc. But ultimately, it's just going to continue to build until you remove it, right? And ultimately, if you don't remove it correctly, all you're doing is aerosolizing it and spreading the spores, and then they take hold down the road, and then you have the problem once again. You know? So it really is crucial that you remove it the right way.
What about, I was curious too, sorry to interject here, but you look at, a lot of these buildings that have the drop ceilings, where it drops down. To me, I bet if you got up there and looked behind there's layers of dust. And that can't be good for your lungs either.
No, it's not. I mean, ultimately, you're talking about a microscopic battle. And ultimately, the dust is composed of things it's not just dust. It's, hair follicles, skin cells, all kinds of stuff, right?
That's
so
right.
Mold is going to grow on organic material. So if you look at any of these filters that you change out, every 2 or 3 months, right, for your AC system, you can really run into a situation of bio-nesting if you don't do it enough, right?
Right.
Even for me, as an indoor air quality specialist, there's times I've forgotten about it, right? And all of a sudden, the entire family is starting to feel sick,
Wow.
And I go in and look at my filter, sure enough, it's been bio-nesting, and I change that out, And obviously for me, I'm going to, dry fog my home every year just as a matter of course, right? But it is one of those things that you want to stay on top of as a maintenance point. And also if you are experiencing, headaches, joint aches, respiratory issues, nasal drip, congestion in the morning, etc. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, but I do understand that there's a physical aspect to what mold can do, or these microscopic particles that float around your house that cause a problem for the body.
Yeah, it's important to get a checkup if you have any of those types of scenarios playing out. Sometimes people have had issues where their doctor can't really diagnose. They don't know what exactly is happening. So we're talking with Brandon Faust here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Brandon, you can offer a quick walkthrough type inspection you mentioned before on some of the episodes.
Of course, we're going to do a free walkthrough, free estimate, free assessment. We're not going to actually do any inspecting using these different items that I've talked to about, like the actual swab test or the air sample test, because we do have to charge for those. But really, we push that out to independent inspectors to do that so that they can tell us what to do to fix it. But as soon as you do that, you're going to have to pay a charge to the lab. But of course, we can do an initial walkthrough, and use some of our instruments in terms of diagnostics, tell you what the humidity level is of your home, look at the ceiling of your shower and see if that's something, hey, you actually do want to get that inspected by an independent inspector, or put eyes on something and go, you know what, that actually could be something to be really concerned about. Let's get an independent inspector in here, or hey, we're not seeing anything that, is like really standing out. But let's do some air samples. Let's get somebody to take those tests and give you an idea of what it would actually take to solve the problem. And at least we can point you in the right direction, because we have a list of a number of inspectors that we use that are highly capable.
Right.
And we'll be able to solve that for you.
Yeah, and I think each person, it's an individual choice on how healthy you want to be. Some people choose to, go vegan, go vegetarian with their diet. Some people choose to, do certain things. Get Kangen water. You get the water special hookup on your sink, and we work with Fred DeFelice on the water side. But on the indoor air quality, talk about that unit that we put into our air conditioning system, because we saw the value in it right away, and we actually went through a dry fogging with Mold Zero as well. So firsthand experience, first-class service, first-class organization. How does that work? That's a UV light in that system?
Of course. So there's different technologies that, and just like anything else, like if you buy a car, there's a difference between buying, let's say, a Honda or a Bentley, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be obviously bells and whistles, quality, etc. So, when I'm looking for something, I'm not necessarily looking for the highest price thing, but I am looking for something that is, you're going to get the most bang for your buck, right? And that particular instrument that you got from us, it had a combination of technologies all being used, right? So you had a UV light. Yep. That actually goes into, it doesn't hit your AC system directly, okay, so it's not going to damage the wires or the plastics inside your actual system, but it actually reflects off of a titanium honeycomb grid, and that UV light hitting that metallic surface actually creates a germicidal wavelength, believe it or not. So it serves to be as an antimicrobial. On top of that, there is ionization. So you have, the science that basically helps to make sure your indoor air quality is top notch. So you have those particulates that float around, and when it's properly ionized, they attach to each other, and now they actually can get caught in the filter, right? And it can actually help to destroy some of those spores. So I always like to use that equipment after we've done a reset on the home, and we've got it to the point where we're at a safe level on those indoor air quality tests that, somebody's going to come in behind us and make sure that's good, right? And then we put the instrument in, and now it keeps it at that level. It extends the length of the life of the process that we use, the dry fog process.
Well, we got about a minute left. Give us your final thoughts, top tips, nuggets of advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like anything else, when you're dealing with a company, whether it's a mold inspector or a restoration company or an AC company, you want to make sure that you're dealing with professionals, guys that really understand the science of their subject. They are going to use the tools that separate them from somebody who really doesn't know. Make sure that they have great reviews. That's something that we really pride ourselves on at Mold Zero, is that 5-star service and experience, right? So look at all those things, and so you have a great experience from top to bottom. And if they do mess up, they're willing to come in and fix it. That's also really crucial.
Yeah, that's important. All right, good stuff. Thanks for being a consumer advocate out there and supporting the Consumer Quarterback Show. All of our listeners, our viewers out there, please think local, support local. The Salem family does a great job of that. Reach out to the hotline. Anything you heard about today, we'd love to put you in touch with Brandon. 813-750-0550, consumerqb.com. 813-750-0550. And coming up, we got attorney Jason Coble in the house. Coble Law, consumer debt, personal injury law, auto accidents, and more right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Chris Voss, former FBI lead hostage negotiator and owner of the Black Swan Group. and you're listening to Consumer Quarterback Show hosted by my friend Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.
Alrighty. Everybody, please stand by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team, Keller Williams Realty, helping you win in your real estate deals, buying, selling, or investing. A couple of hot listings here, 304 East Waters Avenue. This is a commercial lot, commercial vacant land, almost a half an acre in a great part of town, close to I-275. 304 East Waters Avenue, great opportunity for a car dealership, potentially, other types of businesses. 304 East Waters Avenue, and we also have 3 units side by side here: 801 Palm, 803 Palm Avenue, and also 1905 Taliaferro. Great buying opportunity here. What an investor special that we have here. Income built in. You've got daily rentals as a hostel and also monthly rentals as well. Cash cow property plus redevelopment play potentially close to downtown, close to the interstates. Great opportunity with the proximity to downtown, Ybor, and 801, 803 Palm and 1905 North Taliaferro Avenue in Tampa. Great buying opportunity. Compliments of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Somewhere sunny and 75.
All right, we got Jason Coble back in the house. Attorney Jason Coble, that is. Coble Law, welcome back.
Yes, sir, Brandon. Nice to be here.
Yeah, man. Good stuff. Thanks for coming in. You look at, I was driving into the studio or a listing appointment prior to the show, and I saw a pile up on the causeway there, kind of where you've got the Highway 60 going west, and you got the Veterans Expressway coming around the loop just south. Another accident out there.
It's a hot area, out there. 19 is always terrible too.
Yeah.
And just car accidents have been up. I don't know. Maybe when people were cooped up for the COVID, they couldn't wait to get out and drive again. I don't know, but the car accidents are definitely up.
Texting and driving, I gotta bet people are texting, looking at their Facebook feeds. I mean, it's almost every time you look at the car next to you, the passenger almost always is on their phone.
Unbelievable.
And then about half the time, the driver's pecking around on that thing too.
Yep. A lot of accidents are caused that way. A lot of accidents happen. They don't admit were caused that way, but I guarantee you they were.
Right.
It's almost like they should give a driver's test with someone texting because they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
I
terrible.
mean, it's unbelievable the speed of life that we have, the pace that people have, and the expectations almost of people. If you don't answer, sometimes it's like, hey, what happened? Why didn't you answer me? Well, I'm driving. I'm in the car.
Yeah. They're like, well, that's no excuse.
Yeah, exactly. Get back to me. So you look at that, and you got consumer debt, another big issue. We hear a lot about these different scams out there. We had a small get-together at our home, and I'm trying to remember the story, but there was someone telling me that, they got a call. Their son got scammed because what it was a someone posing to be a law enforcement officer, kind of running that whole thing. And by the way, your card, your ID was you, whatever it was. They tried to link it back to this young man, and the kid fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. They ended up buying debit cards with his money. Had him buy debit cards. Okay, read me the back of the card. And once you do, this will all go away.
Yep. Actually, I had a neighbor got clipped by one of those scams. It was terrible, and lost $25,000. It was terrible.
Now, how did the scam go down? What can we say to kind of prep people for that?
You just really got to be careful of anybody who's asking you for money or bank information or anything.
Yeah.
That one, I didn't have the specific details, but I know that there's a lot of people will be calling saying they're the IRS. The IRS doesn't collect over the telephone. So if you have somebody calling telling you that, it's a lie.
Yep.
But honestly, and I've gotten one of those calls, and it's a little scary. They're like, oh, we're going to have a warrant out for your arrest if you don't respond to this and that.
Yeah.
And, even though I knew it was baloney, it's like, gosh, if I didn't, that would be scary.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at that's the thing sometimes when you think about giving advice for people that aren't in your business, my business every day, I think sometimes as professionals, 10, 15, 20 years doing something, you kind of lose sight of what the common layperson might think. And then you add into the fact that technology for older people, I had a family member almost get scammed on Facebook Messenger. I said, no, delete that person. Don't answer them back. Well, she's a Facebook friend.
Oh, I know.
No, they're not your friend.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, I think that calling people friends on Facebook and so it cheapened friendships in general.
It did. That's true.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah. It's like, you could just
really
delete a friend. It's not the same in the real world, but sometimes the lines get crossed.
Yeah, exactly. You delete a friend in the real world, it goes down a little differently.
Right.
Yeah, it's a challenge when people have, these different things happening. And Captain Matt Bruce does a great job on his show, too. He does his overnight from 2 to 6 a.m. I call in on Wednesdays around 5:30, 5:40 on his show. And we a lot of times tackle these consumer debt type issues or the phone calls, the gimmicks, the scams over the phone. But what else is going on in the world of consumer debt?
I was just talking to your producer before the show. We were talking about there's literal lawsuits where the lawsuits are being filed and the plaintiffs who are bringing them have no intention of actually prevailing and going to court.
Exactly.
And it's basically utilizing the court system for reasons other than what you're alleging in your complaint on the large scale. There's all these defamation cases have been filed by Dominion. Exactly. I'm not saying they're invalid. Don't put me on record as saying that. But all these defendants, they're coming out of the woodworks, keep adding more defendants. I almost wonder how serious they are taking that all the way, or if there's some other reason that's being done. And on a smaller scale, I've gotten a lot of clients where I have one just last night I got a call. It was a complaint for a debt that the person, I don't know if it was identity mistake or complete baloney, that they knew nothing about it. So now that I'm going to have to countersue for knowingly trying to attempt an invalid debt.
Yeah.
But, had that person not called me and missed or didn't respond within 20 days, didn't file an answer,
right,
they could have been defaulted. And next thing you know, now they really do owe some money. So,
yeah, that's the key is don't ignore it. Even William Crowley, the credit magician that comes on the show, he talks about don't ignore the debt. Don't act like you don't. It's not you. And especially with a lawsuit like that, if you get a complaint filed against you, you have to file an answer within the allotted time frame. Otherwise, it goes to a default judgment.
It could, and sometimes you could set them aside and get around that, and sometimes you can't. Depends on the circumstances. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's very unfortunate to see because being an attorney, I know that the court systems are already backed up.
Yeah,
and these judges are overworked as it is, and their staff, and then there's a good percentage of these cases that are just complete bogus, and they're there for reasons other than going to court, and it's very unfortunate. So hopefully that cleans up.
Yeah, and Mike Lindell, got sued by Dominion.
There's another one. Yep.
Yeah. So
Rudy Giuliani. Yeah,
what I've heard is that they kind of say, "Great, now we have discovery. Now we open
well,
up
that's the thing. That'll be the litmus test to see how serious they are in those cases. Because yes, for any defamation, the truth is the ultimate defense. You'll win every time if you could prove that what you said was true.
Right.
They're going to be able to do discovery in those cases, and Dominion's going to have to give them access to their machines, and we'll see if they're serious about it and they let that happen. Then I'll be proven wrong.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yep.
And if you just joined us, we're talking to attorney Jason Coble here, longtime friend of the program. Coble Law is his website, coblellaw.com. On the Tampa Bay area right here as well. Personal injury law, auto accidents, consumer debt is a really, I love that part of your practice because, consumers, they don't know what they don't know. And a lot of times, like you said, these companies are filing out these blanket lawsuits, trying to cover a lot of people because they know a certain percentage aren't going to know, and they're going to have a collection opportunity on a certain amount of people.
Right. Even it might be a valid debt, and they add some penalty. It might look legit on the paperwork, but they have to be exactly right with the amount they're trying to collect. And it's tough because if they're wrong, if they're off, you can countersue them. So any kind of complaint anybody gets, don't go it alone. Call an attorney, call me. If you don't call me, call someone else because, don't do it alone and don't ignore it, like you said.
Yeah, don't ignore it. Call the hotline, too. We'll put you right in touch with Jason, 813-750-0550. Call or text that line. It's an off-air number, 813-750-0550, consumerqb.com. And Jason, too, when you think about, the consumer debt, personal injury law, there's a lot of things that kind of slip through the cracks with people. What are some of the other key points that we mentioned too? I'm trying to remember specifically. There was something dealing with medical debts
right.
or employees.
Right. Injured workers in pretty much every state. I've checked most of them, but I obviously specialize in Florida. You're never supposed to be billed for your medical care. It's supposed to be an exchange. When the legislature created the law, you can't sue your employer in civil court. You can't get paid in suffering. In exchange for that, you're supposed to get efficient medical care when you're hurt at work, and it's not supposed to be a financial burden on you. It has to be paid by the insurance carrier, the workers' comp carrier. And these medical providers, they know it. They ignore that law, and they bill everybody. They'll bill you. They'll bill your health insurance. They'll bill workers' comp. And they just want to get paid by as many pots as possible. And I honestly think that they factor that into their business decision as far as because not a lot of people tag them for it like I have. And so if you're an injured worker and you had a compensable case, even if you settled at this point, if it was within the last 2 years and you received a bill, which I would say my case is probably 65% of them, I have a client with a workers' comp case, they receive bills. And so it's more than half. It's really sad.
Wow.
So I know that this is not just an accident. It's definitely an intentional act. But all I have to prove is that you told the facility you were hurt at work and you got the bill sent to your house. That's it.
Wow.
They don't even have to be ongoing, attempting to collect. Just one bill is enough to trigger the penalty.
Wow. And what's the penalty?
It's if you paid for the bill. Some people, they worry about their credit. They'll pay those actual damages. But if you didn't, if you just got that one bill and that was it, the statutory penalty is up to $1,000. Now, I always ask for $1,000 because I argue to the judges that, hey, these people are supposed to be protected via statute.
Yeah.
And, it's getting ignored and they're getting billed. So therefore, it should be the max because it's up to the judge's discretion to determine should the penalty be anywhere from $1 to $1,000.
Right.
Not every judge agrees with me. So if I could settle for $500, $750 for the statutory penalty, I will. But I'll get some cases where I'll client with 14 bills, they have $14,000, That's money that they wouldn't have already, wouldn't have had. And I obviously stopped the collection. And if anything went to credit, on the credit report, I get that cleaned up as well.
Yeah. Speaking of credit, we just had William Crowley on the show, our credit expert, and he was talking about how the new administration is claiming that the credit scoring system is racist, and they're looking to try to replace the credit scoring system. So anyways, if you missed that show, check out our YouTube channel. You'll see that on there. An interview with William Crowley was talking about that. And so, change is coming from all different ways. Dr. Seuss books getting canceled.
Mr. Potato Head, too.
Mr. Potato Head. A lot of, the Washington Redskins, I was reading, their cheerleaders are no longer going to be cheerleaders. It's a co-ed dance team, because that definitely need to be changed. We can't go forward with that. But anyway, stay with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. When we come back, more with attorney Jason Coble here on the show. Plus, our feel-good story of the day. Good Samaritan saves struggling single mother's home with life-changing repairs. And here's a hint, it comes down to GoFundMe page. GoFundMe jumping in again, being the hero. So pretty cool website there to help people that are in need. Stay with us, Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Warwick Dunn, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.
This is Diane Vance with Fairway Independent Mortgage, a member of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Please give me a call for any of your mortgage needs. We do all sorts of loans. If you would like information on a mortgage, you can text me or call me at 727-647-8199. I will take care of all your mortgage needs. Go to my website at dianevance.com.
Ian Beckles here with my man, Brandon Rhymes, a.k.a. the Real Estate Quarterback. Brandon, what's happening with the market?
Thanks, Ian. We are in a low inventory market, so any of our listeners are homeowners and would like a free comparable market analysis or a 2.5% listing, we will honor this for the first 3 listeners who call or text in 813-773-1253. Free CMA and a 2.5% real estate listing at 813-773-1253. Check out consumerqb.com. Selling commercial or residential property? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. Reach me at 813-670-7372 or platinummvpteam.com.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, every day we tell you something good here in our feel-good story of the day. We're going to tell you something positive.
Tell me something good.
All right, so you talk about the random act of kindness, Good Samaritans. Here's a great story out of Massachusetts. Jane Cunningham and her 3 children, they had a home that they bought was in rough shape. They had an entire roof that was shot, mold everywhere, and a big problem in the family room. So a piece of the ceiling had fallen down, and it came a giant squirrel's nest and nuts and all, it says. Jane knew that she and her children weren't safe in the house, and she couldn't afford to fix it. So she went to the GoFundMe page. And friends have asked a lot how we can help a single mom, 3 of 3, and longtime Sudbury, Massachusetts residents who need of desperate help. New roof repair, expensive wood rot, and resulting from water damage. So the page caught the attention of a gentleman by name Dave Fenton, who also happened to be the chief operating officer of Suffolk Construction, Boston. And it just kind of moved me, so I dug in a little bit more and figured out that we should all be helping, end quote. And using his business contacts, trade partners, and roofers, he said, I know there's more to do. We reached out to some of the folks, demolition folks. We got inside and took care of the mold issue and also took care of the drywall. So a little bit of the electrical work. So said Fenton, and all the work was donated, and they're not done yet. Fenton said they returned in the spring and fix the landscape and paint the exterior. And quote, I'm just blown away by the kindness. It really just changes our whole outlook on life, and it changes the trajectory of our life as well, Jane said. So there's our feel-good story of the day. Pretty awesome. Any reaction there?
Oh, man, I love that. That's cool. There's a lot of good stories with GoFundMe, you know?
It really is.
And every now and then you get some, unfortunate ones that,
they faked last year. Wasn't there one where they faked it or something?
Yeah, that's sad, but no, most of the time those are great stories. That's
it really is. It's just shows you the power of the internet, and anything that has power to be good also has the power to be bad.
That's it.
And misused.
Yep.
The telephone solicitations.
Absolutely.
IRS. Right. I need your social. I need your bank account. No, you don't.
Yep. Yep. Could be used for good or evil.
That's right. Yeah. So we got attorney Jason Coble here in studio, Coble Law, and Jason, when you think about the current state of just the speed of life. I like to talk sometimes about the speed of life. People are confused. People don't understand. You got these corporations they're not human beings. Obviously, they are at the mercy of their stockholders or their boards, but they're pushing for the stockholder to increase the value for the stockholder. So that's where you get another. I think it's an inherent situation where human beings, we want to have the best life we can, and then you got these corporations that are they're beholden to their stock owners, and I think that's a big challenge. That's a large portion of the negative dynamic that we have in this world, because they're always looking for ways to get more money.
Man, that's a great point. Because legally they're considered like a separate entity, like a person.
Right.
But we always think of sort of our country. We're all the citizens, and the people looking out for each other, what have you. But these entities, they're almost a being in and of itself, and they have their own motivations.
That's right.
And they also happen to have the power.
Exactly.
So really, we hardly think of them, and we pale in comparison as far as the big ones, as far as the power.
Well, they run everything. I mean, you look at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. A lot of people, that's a confusion people have. They say, well, I'm a member of my Chamber of Commerce in Oldsmar, for example, or whatever small town. Well, that's good, because it's promoting small business, community. But the big national U.S. Chamber of Commerce, those are the ones that are in the pockets of the politicians. They're swaying certain legislation and all that. And I think also we saw with Coca-Cola a couple weeks ago, the whole got to be less white, try to be less white. You're naturally basically evil if you're white. Yeah. So these big corporations, I just don't understand the connection. I mean, I do on one hand, but on the other, I'm just like, how do they really get to that point where they have that much power and they're determining, what's woke and what's not?
Exactly. Also, take, for example, the Mr. Potato Head. So they're going to drop the Mr., I guess. He's just Potato Head now. And it's like, did that really need to be done? And same with Dr. What impact is that going to really have on things? But you know what? I personally feel, this is my own opinion, they do these things because they want to get support from that particular group that's going to actually think that is very cool.
Yeah. Control. It's about control. It's about bullying. It's about, everything before them was just, bad. America was bad, and it comes into these. But the corporations, back to your point, it's an interesting topic to explore, because they only care about increasing shareholder value.
Right.
That's the big thing. And
they're not really human.
Yeah, exactly. They want to be treated like an entity in court.
Right.
And even like the cruise ships. I mean, I've seen documentaries on that. The cruise ships are based in Panama, for example, or Costa Rica. They're not a United States-based company, so therefore they have a lower threshold on rules and laws, and people get thrown overboard on those things. People get deathly ill and sick. I mean, there's so much nefarious acts that happen on cruise ships. But hey, you ask a general layperson, yeah, I love cruises. It's so much fun. I don't have to worry about a car. I can go and drink all the whole time. The
ignorance is bliss sometimes.
That's right. Yeah, it really is. It's an interesting way, and look at the cash cow that these cruise ships are, and it's all inclusive: the food, the drinks, and. But if something bad happens on there, as an attorney, you can't technically sue that entity, right?
Some of the bigger ones, I had a case years ago against one of the bigger companies, but some of those other ones that are international, forget it. You can't even touch them.
Yeah. Yeah, because and then you have it also happens in the insurance space. I remember, there's a great documentary. It was actually even more of a Hollywood type film. It was an insurance company where they signed the policy, but then when it came time to pay because the lady's husband died, another one, Panama-based company, they went down there, researched it, tried to find, so it's one entity owns another entity, owns another entity. They can really bury stuff that way.
Absolutely. You know what, though? You just reminded me. I wanted to say something about a personal experience I just had. I had a case recently sent to me, and people need to look out for this. It was a person who bought a car from one of those. They target low-income people.
Yeah,
your credit doesn't matter or whatever. And they had a mandatory policy that the person had to buy for repairs and whatnot. And it was kind of expensive relative to the price of the car. And it said it would replace any parts or whatever. And sure enough, a month after the person bought the car, something went, like transmission or something like that. It was supposed to be replaced if you read the language.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do it. They said you need a mechanical engineer to give an expert opinion. Just so happened the guy's boss felt bad for him. He was a rich guy, and he builds planes. So he had a mechanical engineer, which they probably never expected in a million years.
Yeah, exactly.
Took apart the engine and was able to give an opinion. And the justice said, we're probably going to have to cover. They send in writing. Still didn't cover.
Denied.
So now it's a case we're wondering, do they ever cover anything?
Right.
And then I researched it. There's a lot of companies like that. So you really got to watch out. They're giving people, and people are buying insurance, and it's really nothing because they don't ever cover any policy.
They don't hide. They hide behind it.
Yes.
They lie.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it really is, because that's a hardworking, now more than ever, the middle class, the low, to income folks, we're under attack. By the way, I saw a stat. The wealthiest people in the country last year increased their wealth by $500 billion, $500 billion. Talking about your Gates, your Buffetts, all these boys that you know who they are.
Yeah.
They increased their wealth by that much money in the disappearing class, the disappearing middle class.
Yeah, it's a shame. Look at Amazon. Amazon is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they profited quite nicely from COVID.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, Zoom and Gates and the computer tech companies, they're all looking, they're attacking us either way they can. The middle class is disappearing. They're writing constant legislation. They're watering down our currency, and it's going to be a big problem at some point.
Yep. And it's great that you're talking about it because you need more people have to, because they're also controlling the information.
Yeah, exactly.
And now you got the censorship. I mean, it's getting a little scary.
Everybody, Gates bought he's the largest landowner now in the United States, Bill Gates.
Oh, is he?
Yep.
Oh,
he's
shocker.
investing in land because he knows, hey, we got to farm food. We got to make food. Here we go. Let's buy some land.
Right. That never goes bad.
Exactly. Final thoughts, about 20 seconds quickly, and the best website for you.
TampaWorkCompLaw.com. I'm a little dressed up today because I'm actually on my way to a photo shoot. I'm happy to say this year, for the second year in a row, we got named as one of the top law firms for workers' comp by Tampa Magazine.
Nice.
So
awesome, man.
Thank you for that.
Good stuff. Great job. Keep up the good work out there, working for the folks, the consumers out there, consumer debt, personal injury law, auto accidents. Attorney Jason Coble, longtime friend of the program. Please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another. Be a force for good in the community, and continue to tune into our show. Support the show. We greatly appreciate it. ConsumerQB.com, and we'll see you next time right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Contact Brandon Rhymes at 813-670-7372. That's 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for The Consumer Quarterback Show.